Hi everyone and welcome. Tonight, we're diving into the hidden world you can't see, a quiet universe filled with tiny life, gentle movement, and incredible beauty. Let's slow down, relax, and explore the most fascinating facts about the microscopic world. The microscopic creatures that shape our planet. Although microscopic organisms are invisible to the naked eye, they quietly play a powerful role in shaping the entire planet. From the depths of the oceans to the soil beneath forests, tiny life forms influence many of the natural processes that make Earth habitable. One of the most important groups of microscopic organisms are cyanobacteria, sometimes called blue-green algae. These microorganisms are among the oldest life forms on Earth, appearing more than 2 billion years ago. Long before plants covered the land, cyanobacteria were already performing photosynthesis in ancient oceans, releasing oxygen into the atmosphere. Over millions of years, this slow process gradually filled the atmosphere with oxygen, allowing more complex life to evolve. Today, microscopic algae and cyanobacteria living in oceans continue to produce a huge portion of the oxygen we breathe. Scientists estimate that a large share of Earth's oxygen comes from microscopic photosynthetic organisms floating near the ocean's surface. Every gentle wave in the sea carries billions of these tiny oxygen producers quietly working under sunlight. Microscopic life also plays a crucial role in recycling nutrients across the planet. In forests, soils are filled with bacteria and fungi that slowly break down fallen leaves, dead plants, and organic material. Without these microscopic recyclers, nutrients would remain locked inside old material, and new plants would struggle to grow. Even the cycles of important elements like carbon and nitrogen depend heavily on microorganisms. Certain bacteria are able to capture nitrogen from the atmosphere and convert it into forms that plants can use. Other microbes help release carbon back into the environment as organic materials decompose. These processes maintain the delicate balance that supports life on Earth. In the oceans, microscopic organisms form the foundation of the marine food web. Tiny phytoplankton drift near the sunlit surface of the sea. These organisms are eaten by slightly larger plankton, which in turn feed fish, whales, and many other marine creatures. In this way, some of the largest animals on the planet ultimately depend on life forms that are almost impossibly small. Microscopic organisms can also help regulate the chemistry of the oceans and atmosphere. Some microbes absorb carbon dioxide, while others release compounds that influence cloud formation and weather patterns. Though these processes are complex, they reveal how deeply the smallest life forms are connected to global environmental systems. Despite their immense influence, most of this activity happens quietly and continuously. Trillions upon trillions of microscopic organisms are constantly working, producing oxygen, recycling nutrients, and supporting ecosystems around the globe. In this sense, the microscopic world acts like an invisible engine that helps keep our planet alive. Though we cannot see these tiny creatures without special tools, their gentle and persistent activity shapes the Earth in ways that are both profound and beautifully balanced. The hidden universe beneath our eyes. The microscopic world is a vast and quiet universe that exists all around us, yet remains invisible to the naked eye. Every drop of water, every grain of soil, and even the air we breathe contains countless tiny organisms living their slow and intricate lives. Scientists estimate that a single teaspoon of healthy soil can hold billions of microorganisms, forming entire ecosystems that are older and more complex than many forests. One of the most fascinating groups of microscopic organisms is bacteria. Although the word often makes people think of disease, most bacteria are actually helpful. They quietly recycle nutrients, help plants grow, and even assist our bodies in digesting food. Inside the human body alone live trillions of bacteria, forming what scientists call the microbiome. This invisible community works silently every moment of our lives, helping to maintain balance and health. Another extraordinary inhabitant of the microscopic world is the protozoa. These tiny single-celled organisms move gracefully through water using structures like tiny hairs called cilia or whip-like tails known as flagella. Under a microscope, their movements can look almost like a slow underwater ballet. Some protozoa hunt smaller microbes, while others glide peacefully through microscopic landscapes made of minerals, algae, and organic particles. Among the most charming microscopic creatures are tardigrades, sometimes called water bears. These tiny animals, usually less than a millimeter long, walk slowly on 8 stubby legs. Under magnification, they look surprisingly like miniature bears wandering across a strange alien terrain. Tardigrades are famous for their resilience. They can survive freezing temperatures, intense radiation, and even the vacuum of space by entering a suspended state where their metabolism nearly stops. The microscopic world also includes diatoms, beautiful algae encased in delicate shells made of silica, the same material found in glass. Their shells form intricate geometric patterns that resemble tiny works of art. When viewed through a microscope, diatoms look like ornate stained glass windows drifting slowly through oceans and lakes. Despite their small size, they play a huge role in Earth's ecosystems, producing a significant portion of the oxygen in our atmosphere. Perhaps the most relaxing aspect of the microscopic world is its gentle rhythm. While our human lives often feel fast and chaotic, many microscopic organisms move slowly, dividing, drifting, and interacting at a calm and steady pace. Watching them through a microscope can feel like observing a peaceful universe where tiny lives unfold quietly and endlessly. This hidden realm reminds us that life does not only exist in the forests, oceans, and skies we can see. Entire worlds flourish beneath our awareness, filled with delicate structures, patient movements, and silent cooperation. The microscopic world may be invisible, but it is one of the most fascinating and calming parts of nature. The beautiful geometry of microscopic life. When scientists first began studying the microscopic world, one of the most surprising discoveries was how beautiful and geometric many microscopic organisms are. Under a microscope, life does not appear chaotic or random. Instead, it often reveals delicate symmetry, repeating patterns, and elegant structures that resemble tiny works of art. One of the most famous examples is the group of microorganisms known as diatoms. These tiny algae live in oceans, lakes, and rivers across the planet. Each diatom is surrounded by a shell made of silica, the same material found in glass. What makes them extraordinary is the intricate patterns etched into their shells. Some look like tiny snowflakes, others like circular mosaics or delicate lattices. Scientists often compare them to microscopic stained glass windows created by nature. Another fascinating group of microorganisms with remarkable geometry are radiolarians. These tiny marine organisms float slowly through ocean water and build skeletons made from mineral structures. Their shapes can be spherical, star-like, or spiky, with perfect symmetry radiating outward from the center. Many radiolarians appear almost like miniature planets surrounded by elegant crystalline structures. Even bacteria, which are among the smallest living organisms, display surprisingly consistent forms. Many bacteria appear as perfect spheres, rods, or spirals. These shapes are not accidental. Each form helps the organism survive in its environment. Spiral bacteria, for example, can move efficiently through liquid environments by twisting like tiny corkscrews. Some microscopic organisms create long chains or colonies that resemble living patterns. Certain algae form delicate filaments that drift through water like microscopic threads. Others grow into branching networks that look almost like miniature forests when magnified thousands of times. One of the most calming aspects of observing these microscopic shapes is the realization that nature repeats patterns across many scales. The same types of symmetry seen in flowers, snowflakes, and seashells can also be found in organisms far too small to see with the naked eye. The microscopic world mirrors the beauty of the larger natural world in quiet and subtle ways. Scientists believe that these geometric patterns often arise from simple biological rules: the way cells divide, the way minerals crystallize, and the way energy flows through living systems. From these simple processes emerge structures that appear almost impossibly delicate and precise. When viewed through a microscope, the microscopic world becomes a gallery of natural design. Tiny organisms drift slowly through invisible currents, carrying with them shapes that resemble sculptures crafted by nature itself. In this hidden universe, beauty exists not only in grand landscapes and vast oceans, but also in the smallest living forms quietly floating through a drop of water. The slow movements of invisible creatures. One of the most calming discoveries about the microscopic world is that many of its inhabitants move in surprisingly slow and graceful ways. While our daily lives often feel fast and rushed, microscopic organisms drift, glide, and flow through their environments with gentle patience. Observing them through a microscope can feel almost like watching a quiet underwater ballet unfolding in a hidden universe. Many microorganisms travel through water using tiny structures called cilia. These are microscopic hair-like extensions that cover the surface of certain protozoa. Each cilium moves in coordinated waves, pushing the organism forward in a smooth and rhythmic motion. When thousands of cilia move together, the effect looks like a soft ripple passing across the organism's surface, allowing it to glide calmly through microscopic landscapes. Other microorganisms move with the help of flagella, which are long whip-like tails. These flexible structures rotate or wave back and forth, gently propelling the organism through water. Some bacteria spin their flagella like tiny propellers, allowing them to navigate through droplets of water or thin films of moisture found in soil. Some microscopic creatures move in even more unusual ways. Amoebas, for example, travel by slowly changing their shape. They extend soft parts of their cell body called pseudopods, which means false feet. The amoeba gradually flows into these extensions, slowly pulling the rest of its body forward. Watching this movement under a microscope feels almost like observing living liquid reshaping itself. Even creatures that seem stationary are often quietly active. Certain microorganisms attach themselves to surfaces such as plant material or grains of sand. From these positions, they gently sway with microscopic currents in the water. Tiny particles drift past them like floating dust in sunlight. These movements may appear slow to us, but they are perfectly adapted to the scale of the microscopic world. In such tiny environments, water behaves very differently than it does at larger scales. Instead of flowing freely, it feels almost thick and heavy, more like syrup than liquid. Because of this, microscopic organisms must move carefully and efficiently through their surroundings. Scientists sometimes describe the microscopic environment as a place where time seems to move differently. A tiny journey across a droplet of water can be an entire expedition for a microorganism. What might seem like a still and silent environment to us is actually filled with countless small movements happening all the time. Watching these slow and delicate motions can be deeply relaxing. The tiny organisms glide through their invisible worlds without hurry, following the gentle physics of water and life at the smallest scale. In their quiet movements, the microscopic world reveals a peaceful rhythm, one that reminds us that nature does not always rush, even when life continues everywhere around us. The invisible cities of microbial communities. Although microscopic organisms are incredibly small, they rarely live alone. In fact, many microbes form complex communities that scientists often compare to tiny cities. These communities exist everywhere, in soil, oceans, lakes, and even on the surfaces of plants, rocks, and our own skin. Within these miniature worlds, millions or even billions of microorganisms live together, interacting in surprisingly organized ways. One of the most fascinating examples of these microscopic communities is something called a biofilm. A biofilm forms when microorganisms attach to a surface and begin producing a thin, sticky layer that holds them together. Over time, more and more microbes join the colony, creating a structured environment that can include channels, layers, and clusters of different species. Under a microscope, biofilms sometimes resemble miniature cities with streets and neighborhoods. These microbial communities are not chaotic gatherings. Many microorganisms within a biofilm cooperate and communicate with one another. Scientists have discovered that some bacteria release tiny chemical signals into their environment. When enough of these signals accumulate, the bacteria can sense the presence of many neighbors nearby. This process, known as quorum sensing, allows them to coordinate behaviors such as movement, growth, or the production of protective substances. Inside these microbial cities, different organisms often perform specialized roles. Some microbes break down organic materials, others produce nutrients, and some help protect the colony from environmental stress. This cooperation allows the community to survive in environments that might be difficult for individual organisms to endure alone. The structure of these communities can be remarkably complex. Within a biofilm, microscopic channels may form that allow water and nutrients to circulate throughout the colony. These channels function somewhat like tiny transportation networks, helping distribute essential resources to the microorganisms living deeper inside the colony. Microbial communities can also be incredibly resilient. When conditions change, such as shifts in temperature, moisture, or available nutrients, the colony may adjust its structure or activity. Some organisms may become more active, while others enter a quiet resting state until conditions improve. Perhaps one of the most surprising places these microbial cities exist is inside the human body. The human microbiome contains vast communities of bacteria living on the skin, in the mouth, and throughout the digestive system. These microorganisms form stable ecosystems that help regulate digestion, protect against harmful microbes, and even influence aspects of our immune system. When viewed through the lens of a microscope, these microbial communities reveal a hidden level of organization in nature. What appears to us as a simple surface or droplet of water may actually be a thriving metropolis of microscopic life. In their quiet cooperation and delicate balance, these invisible cities remind us that even the smallest forms of life can create remarkably complex and peaceful worlds.